Alright, today I'm going to be showing you how to replace plastics on a King Quad 750. So I'm going to show you how to remove them, and then I'm going to show you how to install them in a second part to this video. We're going to remove the front fender here, as well as the front rack, the front bumper assembly, both footwells right and left, the rear fender, the center cowl here that covers up the air box. Obviously seats are removed, panels on the side here are removed. That's fairly easy. You should know how to do that by now. But I'm going to show you the entire process, what bolts to move and remove, what bolt sizes there are. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you are made aware of when we post more videos on this King Quad 750. We're going to be going through this motor completely. This one has been run low on oil, so we're going to do a motor swap. We're going to tear into this old motor here, diagnose where exactly the issue was. I've done charging system videos on this King Quad 750. We've torn into the rear ends and the front ends. Make sure and check those videos out. Again, hit the thumbs up button if this video has been helpful. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Appreciate you guys watching. The front end here, we've got the front rack, like I said, the front fender here, the left-hand footwell. We're going to have the exact same thing on the other side. That's going to be the right-hand footwell. We've got these plastic clips here. I'll show you what they look like that are going to be in the panel that sits here. We've already removed those. I think I've done other videos on those, but we've got these plastic clips here. Use a larger flat screwdriver, get them behind there, pry these out. You can take the clip all the way out, then you're able just to remove the plastic. So do that on both sides here. We've already used the screwdriver to remove those center clips, so we're able just to pull that out. Pull it out and back. You've got a clip here in the front that's going to sit in your front fender here. You also have a clip on the side here that needs slid back before you pull up. Underneath of there is your air box. I'm going to be doing an overview of this four-wheeler as well as the service, so make sure and check those videos out. We've got the center panel off. Now what I'm going to do is remove all the bolts around the footwell here. A couple different tabs that Suzuki uses, that style that I just showed you there. The second tab is going to be this. And what this is a plastic fitting or a plastic clip. You screw this in, and actually it's light enough you can just take and push it in. That expands it here. And this one, this is a 2014. We had a lot of these Phillips screw clips in here all the way around the footwell, and then we're able to remove that. This whole footwell is going to be able to pull right off of there. Now we've got that detached from the front fender. To get the front rack off, we've got two 8mm screws underneath of here. That's going to be coming towards the back of your rack. So remove those. Be careful, you've got a washer underneath of there that you're going to want to keep. And then to remove the rack completely, you've got a 12mm here. And then we're going to have to remove this front panel here, and I'll show you, give you a close-up of what that looks like. And underneath of this black cover here, you've got another bolt to remove this front rack completely. So I'm going to move the camera over here, show you this front end area here, then we can go ahead and remove that front rack. All right, we've got another clip down here. That's going to be at the bottom of this bumper cover here. And then this bumper cover actually can be just pulled off the top. And then right in front of this headlight here, you've got another black clip. And I'll go ahead and remove that. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a pair of side dikes here, a pair of wire cutters. Get in behind there, pry that up and out. And then sometimes what I do, once I get it pulled out a little bit, take my side dikes there, just pull out the center clip. Once the center clip comes out, which is there, then you can actually just take and pull that out. Typically, it's a good place to store some mud up in this housing here. Do the same thing on the other side. Once you get both those clips removed, and the bottom two, which I already did, we can pull that front bumper cover off. Now we're able to remove the last 12mm bolt here on either side. We're able just to take this front rack completely off. Once you get the back undone, the front 12, and then the two 8mm on either side. Now we can just take and lift out on this front rack here. Remove that. We'll set that aside. Here, we're going to go ahead and remove more clips here. This is what holds the back headlight covers in. So we'll go ahead and pull these clips out. Get a screwdriver in behind there. Get them far enough to get your side dikes in there. Sometimes at this point, especially if you're using a bigger screwdriver, which I would suggest. Sometimes you can just take and remove them by hand. So both headlights are not attached anymore, and we've got your front fender just about ready to pull off of there. So I'm gonna move you over to the other side. We've got our storage cover we've got to deal with here, as well as our accessory outlet plug. All right, we've got our inner panel here that can be removed, and it's gonna be really hard for you to see what plugs I'm removing, but when you remove the plugs from the front footwell here, the right side footwell, you're gonna actually remove a couple of the plugs that are holding this center panel in. So that is gonna just be able to flop down there. There's one clear down, and I'll give you a close up here in a minute that we're gonna need to remove, but we've got an outlet plug here that we're gonna remove. It's for our accessories. And this one is actually broken. So if this customer wants this one replaced, which I'm sure that he will, we can do that, but the wires are completely pulled out of the back side. So now what I'm gonna do, there is a plastic nut that goes on the back of this accessory plug. We're gonna have to remove that plastic nut, and I'll use a pair of needle nose to remove that. Once we get that accessory plug taken care of, we're gonna go to the other side and remove this inner cover panel as well, and then that front fender is gonna be ready to be pulled off of there. Then you're able to just pull that front fender off just like that. Now we'll go to the back fender. The rear fender, then we have two 12mm bolts in the back of the rack here, and then just above that we've got one that's going to be straight down from here on the rear rack. We've got two on this side just right above the toolbox lid, and then one on the front on the left hand side as well. Those are just going to be 12mm bolts. You can remove those with an impact or just a socket wrench. We've got 8mm bolts that are going to come up on either side that support this fender, and then just be careful you grab the washer as well as the spacer that pops out when you remove those 8mm bolts. That's going to be one on each side here, and then you've got a Phillips that's going to come straight down on top of what looks like your tail light here, but it's going to be farther forward on your fender here. Remove that. That's going to allow you just to take and pull that rear rack off. Rear fender is fairly easy to remove except for the electronics. I'm going to give you a close-up view of what that looks like here, and you can watch us remove those parts. But at this point, our rear fender is ready to come off of there except for our electronics, and like I said, we'll go over that. Alright, so we've got our battery here, we've got our ignition or our Cdi box here, we've got our main starter solenoid or our starter relay here, we've got another relay here, another plugged connector here. This is for diagnostics. We've got our fuse box and our some solenoids here. So to remove this Cdi box, lift up. You've got two grommets that hold this in, or you've got a rubber mount here that fits on these posts. You just take this clip, push it down. You can a lot of times hear it pop. Then you can just take and slide that connector out. That should be good and sealed up. Should have a water seal around the outside. You can see here we've washed this four-wheeler off, but none of the water got into these connectors here. Now for our fuses and our solenoid here, you can actually take and pull these off, and you can pull them forward, and there's a rubber mount that these are installed into, and it just takes a little bit of work. You can take and pull those out, and that's what that looks like there. You've got your rubber grommets still on there, so make sure you keep track of those. I like to actually just take and slide those back on. You could actually take them off and slide them back in here, and then when it comes time to put everything back together, just push it right back on. So rubber grommet on that side, pull this off. Some of these relays and solenoids, we're going to be able to just pull right through this hole here. It's a little 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. Those are going to be able just to be removed just like that. Starter solenoid is here, and we're going to have to remove our battery at this time, two 10mm on either of those posts. We've got another relay here. This can just be pulled off just like this. Our starter solenoid, we're going to have to remove and kind of disassemble that, but I want to get to our battery, remove that before we go any farther with this starter relay here. So we're going to remove the ground wire first and our positive wire second. Lift our battery out just like that. We'll set our battery aside, then we'll tear into this starter relay. You've got a plastic cover on here. Remove the plastic cover. And you've got a set of wires here. I hope that you guys can see that. We've got a single wire. We're just going to take and make sure you hang on to the connectors and not just the wires, and you're going to find the spot that you need to press on with a pick. Okay, so we just got in behind. There's a small gap there. Lift up on this clip here. We're able just to separate that. Now the next thing that we're going to do is remove this negative wire here that actually I believe goes to your starter. So this black wire here, we've got a red wire going straight to our battery positive. We've got a black wire here going straight to our starter. So I'm going to remove this 10 millimeters. I like to have a good hold on this relay when I remove that, because otherwise it could get twisted up and just create some problems there. So remove that wire, and then I like to take and put that 10 millimeter back in. And all of this is going to fit through our little hole here. So if everything, we got one more connector that needs to be, well, that can actually go through with the wire harness. So we've got that now separated. Everything's no longer attached to the rear fender. Now we're able to just pull this rear fender off. It's a little bit of a wrestling match, but we'll get through it. Remove anything that's loose, because we're going to end up dumping that out. Make sure you grab your Cdi box, because we don't want that falling and breaking a connector there. All right, now we've got our rear fender. Obviously our fuel tank cap, what I do there is remove the fuel tank cap, lift up slightly on the fender, and then I just slide our fuel tank cap back on there. That way that's done, that's out of the way, we don't have to worry about that. Now I said this is a little bit of a wrestling match, and that is because we're trying to get these connectors out in between this hole here and slide them out of the fender. So sometimes this is easier with two people. Unfortunately, I don't have somebody else here to help, so I'm going to take and prop that up. I'm going to take and prop this up. And before we get too far, we've got a cable, and I always forget this cable here until our fender isn't sliding up, but it is a brake cable. It's our left-hand brake cable going to the rear. You have to unhook that. There's kind of a groove, kind of a hook that is installed into the fender, and that cable is hooked in there. So once we get that out, then now you can take, and I just shove as many wires down here as I can carefully so we don't break anything, and then just kind of slide these as we're going, lifting a little bit if we can. That way you're not bundling up all those wires. Now I stick my arm underneath of here, and I'll keep on pulling. So you can't take a bunch of the connectors and a bunch of the electrical components out at the same time. They just won't fit. So I like to do one at a time. And our fuse box here is going to be the last thing. It's the biggest. And sometimes it's a little bit snug pulling out of there. But you just do that just like that, if you could see that with my arm in the way. And then we've got our wires going down to our starters. And that comes out the front part of our rear fender. Slide those out. Now we've got that rear fender completely off, and we can just lift up on it. You can see here, I'll try to show you. Right here is where that handbrake cable was connected to, so you want to make sure going back together you install that handbrake cable there. Otherwise that cable is going to be sitting and rubbing on that motor, just creates some problems there down the road. So remove this rear fender. Now our footwells, I've already showed you. What we have here is a bison rail that goes around our entire four-wheeler, and that is what connects to here. We're not able to remove these screws a lot of times because of where they are. They get rusted in there, or they get broke off in there. So this entire assembly comes out together. What we did is just pulled our footwell mount off. So we've got two 14mm bolts here. And then we also have a 12mm bolt in the back here that supports this footwell. Nothing in the front. So we've got our two 14mm bolts here and our 12mm bolt in the back rail there. We're going to have that on our right and left hand side. Now we've got our footwell and our mount off all at the same time. And there you go there. You can see what we have there. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. All right, now we've got all the plastics off except for the headlight cover, a couple bolts to remove that. That's a fairly simple job. If you guys have questions or comments, make sure and leave those below. If this video has been helpful, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Share it with your friends and family. We appreciate you guys' support. We are now going to tear into the motor on this Suzuki King Quad 750. We're going to go through it completely. I'm going to show you our problem areas. I'm going to show you how to rebuild the top end. I'm going to show you how to install the motor completely. So make sure you check the links below to find those videos. Thank you for watching.